Hello from Lyon in France. When people talk about why cycling works so well in the Netherlands, one of the reasons they often cite is that it's a relatively flat country. Well, Lyon is definitely not flat. So in this video, I'm going to talk about what it's like cycling in a hilly city. Take a look at this map of the centre of Lyon. You can see that Lyon is at the meeting point of two rivers. The one on the left is called the Saône, and the one on the right is the Rhône. If we turn the map on its side a bit, then we can extend the hills up to make them more visible. We can see that there are two main hills around the city centre. The one on the left of the Saône is the Colline de la Farvière. The Farvière is a large cathedral at the top of the hill that overlooks Lyon and is a major tourist attraction. The other hill, between the two rivers, is called the Croix Rousse. The flat part of the Croix Rousse was historically a separate city that joined Lyon in 1852. Both hills have a long history, probably because the two rivers historically used to be a lot wider and the surrounding area was more marshy, so it made sense to build higher up. People used to say of the hills that the Colline de la Farvière is the hill that prays, and the Croix Rousse is the hill that works. On the first hill, this is probably because of the churches and the cathedral. The other hill was historically the one that worked, making silk. So let's try cycling up these hills and see what they're like now. If you watched my first video, you might recognise the tunnel that I'm coming up to here. This time, I'm on the cycle path next to the car tunnel. I'm going to turn right before entering the tunnel in order to take the path up the hill. Once the bus gets out of the way, you can see there is a nice separated cycle path following the road up the hill. It's only on one side, and for the descent you just have to join the cars. I guess they prioritise this side because there's a much bigger speed difference between cars and bikes on the way up. The road snakes up the hill, so it's never too steep. According to my GPS, it is a climb of about 1 kilometre with a rise of 54 metres, so that makes an average climb of just 5%. I didn't have too much trouble with this hill, even though I'm hideously out of shape. I think it's normally quite a popular route, even though today I didn't bump into anyone else. Here I'm on the main boulevard that cuts across the Croix Rousse. It more or less follows the direction of the tunnel, but above ground. It's very wide, so it has most of the car traffic. If we were to leave this main road, the neighbourhoods to the side are mostly very narrow streets with interesting shops. The Croix Rousse has kept its unusual character and now has a sort of hippie vibe to it, with a higher concentration of vegan restaurants and alternative shops than other parts of Lyon. I get the impression that the hill creates like an artificial barrier from the rest of Lyon, and it's still almost like a separate city. There's a metro line that joins the hill with the rest of Lyon, but it's kind of clunky and it's always packed, so I could understand why the inhabitants of the Croix Rousse would be reluctant to come down to other neighbourhoods. There's a nice market here today. Today it's very small, but on some days it covers the length of the boulevard. It's a great place to get fresh fruit and veg and many other things. In the autumn on this street, the market is replaced by La Vogue des Marrons, or the Chestnut Fun Fair. It's traditionally the season when you can buy roasted chestnuts from stalls in the street. You can still buy them now, but the fun fair is now mostly overtaken by fairground rides and crane machines. It's a popular annual attraction for everyone in Lyon. This plateau is called Gros Caillou, or Big Rock. It's called that because there's a big rock at the end. The rock was discovered when the funicular metro line that leads up to the Croix Rousse was built. It now has a few legends surrounding its origins. From here we get a nice view of the flat part in the east of Lyon. I think most people live in this flat part, so for them it's totally possible to cycle in Lyon without having to climb any hills. So let's go down the other side of the hill now. This side is quite steep. The tables you can see on the road here belong to my favourite vegan restaurant called Like an Elephant. This part is called La Montée de Saint-Sébastien. It was recently closed off to car traffic, and now it is only accessible to pedestrians and cyclists. This turned out to be quite controversial with some of the locals, because now they have to make a detour to get to the top by car. It was a talking point in the local elections. Personally, I think it was a good idea, because the pavements are very narrow here, and it used to be really difficult to walk up while avoiding the cars. There are still quite a few rebels who ignore the signs and drive up this hill anyway. This is a one-way street in the other direction, but cyclists are allowed to go both ways. Almost all of the one-way streets are like this in Lyon. It's kind of cool that it opens up more routes for cycling in Lyon, but it's also quite scary to try and avoid oncoming cars. I'm at the bottom of the hill now. This is Place d'Hérault. On the left is the City Hall. I'm going to head back towards the Saône now, so we can climb the other hill. Now I'm going to cross the bridge towards the old town. The tower you can see in the background is just next to the big cathedral. Everybody likes to make the joke that it's the Eiffel Tower, but of course the real one is in Paris, really far away. Most of the old town is full of cobblestones and narrow streets that my camera didn't like, so I'm going to cut the video here. I'm going to show you a part of the old town by foot anyway, because it's a very popular tourist attraction. You can hear a lot of different languages being spoken as you walk along these roads. Most of the shops here are for tourists. There are a lot of little restaurants here called bouchons. They make traditional Lyonnaise food. Lyon is known as the capital of French cuisine, so a lot of people come here to eat. Apart from the tourists, the old town and the rest of the district are known for being more conservative than the rest of Lyon. Maybe this is related to the area being historically the hill that prays. Right, I can't put it off any longer, it's time to climb the hill. This one is a lot steeper than the Croix Rousse. I have to admit that I found it very difficult, and I took a lot of breaks to catch my breath. Just like the other climb, this one has a separated cycle path for going up. It was created relatively recently. It too has some problems. for example with cars parking on it or motorbikes using it to pass cars. I took a break here to catch my breath. It's good that I haven't kept the sound from the camera, because it would just be me wheezing to death. This is probably just because I'm out of shape though, because also at this point, someone overtakes me on a tiny Brompton bike. She doesn't look like she's struggling at all. I really need to train so that I can climb as fast as her. Coming up on the left here is the ancient Roman amphitheatre. It's currently being used for a music festival that happens every year. A lot of big international names come to play here, and it's a really nice atmosphere to watch a gig outside in the evening. This road just keeps getting steeper. I'm really starting to question my life choices at this point. I gave up and started walking at this point, I'm afraid. Okay, another break and I'll start cycling again. We finally made it to the cathedral. What do you think? Was it worth the climb for this amazing view of Lyon? Thanks for watching the video. See you next time!